Thank you for joining the CEO Insider. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Troy Aikman. Very, very excited about this interview. Troy, Hall of Famer, three-time Super Bowl champion, very successful businessman. Just a great guy. I had a chance to talk to him about a lot of things that are important to him, his health, his family, and his business. Talked a little bit about 8 Brewing. It's a company here based in Austin, Texas, sold in stores and restaurants throughout the state, and something he's very passionate about. We're lucky to have 8 Brewing as part of our summit at AT&T Stadium this October 6th. And I hope you enjoy the interview. I certainly did. Building a team as a Cowboy, obviously at UCLA throughout your whole career. But I mean, how important is team, especially with these businesses? You've owned many businesses, but this one seems to be pretty tight.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. It's been a lot of work as we expected. You're right. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of different things over the years. Was a part owner of the Padres, had a NASCAR team, was in the car business, a lot of different stuff as far as what I've been active in. And then with 8 Beer, quite honestly, it was I like beer. It was motivated really by just trying to come up with something that was better for you than what was on the market, because I've always been into my health and wellness and all that. Really ramped it up here in the last 4 years or so, and just before decided to make the beer. And so I thought, man, if we can make a beer that complements where I'm at right now in my life, then let's do it. And I feel like we've done that. It's it really is the cleanest beer on the market. It's the better for you beer, and yet we are still at 90 calories and 2.6 carbs. So it's been good. It's been a lot of work, as you can imagine, and I navigate it as best I can during the football season, and then I'm fully committed. Then in the off season when I have more time to give and then I can travel even more.
Well, you think about such a competitive industry. And you're exactly right. I mean, the market for light beer, look, I'm 56 years old. I don't drink as much beer as I used to. And when I do, it's light. I cannot drink any IPAs. It's just too much for me. Yeah. But it's funny, when I showed my wife last night, she picked up the can. The first thing she said was, "Oh, it's only 90 calories."
Yeah.
And then when I looked at, 2.6 carbs, right, and I compare it to Miller Lite, Bud Light, all of them, I mean, it's less or equal in some, but the calories are less for sure.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, I mean, those measurables they're important to us. They're important to a lot of people. I mean, for some, and it sounds like your wife probably falls into this category, that's the only thing that they look at. Okay, calories and carbs and they want those to be as low as possible. You can get into a little bit of a trap if that's your whole goal, is lowering calories, and you can do that, and it doesn't necessarily make that beer better for you. Whereas for 8, what's unique about 8 is that, one, we use 100% organic grains, we use antioxidant hops. But the differentiator is that we don't add any adjuncts. We don't add any corn, rice, syrup, or sugars to the beer. Whereas, we're the only widely available beer that can say that. So everyone else, I don't care what their calories or what their carbs are, everyone else is putting all this other stuff in it. And that's really, a lot of junk is what they're putting in it. And so that's why 8 is the cleanest and better for you beer. And yet we did still hit those measurables that people look at. And so, this sounds like a bit of a sales pitch, and I guess it is. But if you like the taste of 8, if you're a light beer drinker and you like the taste of 8, I really don't know why you would ever drink anything else. I mean, you may like the taste of some other things as well, but if you like the taste of 8 and you're a light beer drinker, I don't know why you would, because it is the better for you beer. You can feel better about drinking it, which is why I made it. So that part of it, the people that are like myself, and it really was, it was made for people like myself that are mindful of their health and wellness. and put in the work during the week, and then want to be able on occasion to celebrate with a beer, and they can feel good about doing it.
No, I'm not just saying this. I mean, I had it and I love it. I love it because it's just smooth.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's not a lot of junk in it. You know, again, when we were younger, just drink beer to drink beer. And now you look at a couple of other things, like you said, you look at calories and taste, of course. But I mean, look, I saw a bunch of your interviews. The last one that you did with Milet was insane. What a really good interview.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, you talked about what you put in your body, and at this age, it's important that what you put in your body, and if it's going to be alcohol, you know, make it the best you could. Yeah, make it the best you can.
That's right.
You know, you took a couple years to figure out this formula, and where did you do it? You did it in another state, right? Yeah,
we went to Oregon. We went to the home of the Beavers, Oregon State, there in Dallas, and I was familiar with them because of my playing days at UCLA. But they've got a really nice beer program in their food and science department there, and we worked with some really talented people. And that was kind of the mission. Just said, hey, look, we want to make the best for you beer that we can possibly make. And it took 2 years for us to come up with the recipe. And these guys were great. And we just kept kind of going back with each iteration, say, hey, you know, what can we do to make it even cleaner than this? And ultimately, you know, 8 was born.
How did you hook up with Doug?
So we have a mutual friend, is how it came about. And so, and I will tell you that, you know, I've been approached with a lot of different things over the years, you can imagine, and some of them I've gotten involved with. And what I've learned, I think over the years of me being involved in business, what my takeaway has been is that you can have great product, you can have great ideas, you can have great technology, all that stuff, but if you don't have the people that can execute it, it doesn't much matter. And I've been involved in a couple of those where I thought our technology was amazing, and we just didn't have the team that could pull it off. And so when the idea came about to make the beer, I knew where I wanted to go with it. And then it became the question of, okay, I think we can do this, but will we have the team? You know, will I have the team that can make it happen? And with Doug and my other 2 partners, Ruchi and Jake, I mean, just awesome people, really smart. They've been down this road before with other things, and I really believed in both the product and the people, and so it became a no-brainer to move forward. Right.
So #1 new independent beer brand in 2022. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And your next goal is to become the top 10 light beer brand in Texas. And you are only sold in Texas.
We're only sold in Texas right now. Yes.
Right now.
Yes. And we've obviously had conversations, and I believe that we will. I think that, you know, probably before the end of 2024, I would imagine that we'll be beyond Texas. But for right now, as good as it's been, and as nice as our first year was, you know, Texas is a big state, and so we've still got a lot of work to do. And I'll probably always be saying that. I don't know when the work ever ends, but so we'll continue. I think you know, do you want to grow? Yes, we do, but we want to be smart about it as well. We just don't want to go force our way into these different states and not really be fully prepared for it. And I think that from our perspective, we'd probably rather be pulled into some of these states rather than us pushing our way in. And we've had a lot of inquiry about us coming to various states. And I think some of the easy ones would be the neighboring states to Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico. That's probably, you know, where we'll travel next. But eventually, yeah, it would be fantastic if we're on both coasts and everywhere in between. I mean, that'd be a huge success story for us.
What is the key to the success? Is it getting into bars and restaurants, or is it getting into, you know, because you're in HEB, you're in Specs, you're in, you know, Randall's?
Yeah, we've been fortunate. that we've had a lot of people who have really rallied behind us and have been really helpful. And some of it has been because of the relationships that I've had over the years, being in Dallas and my playing career and having an opportunity to get to know a lot of these people, especially on the distributorship side. The one in North Texas, Andrew's Distributing, the family's been like family to me. Our kids have grown up together since really I was about 30 years old. So that relationship runs deep, and they were really helpful with some other distributors across the state of Texas. Faust Distributing in Houston's been longtime friends as well. So that kind of got us off to the right start. But the people like HEB, Kroger, some of these other big grocery stores, they rallied behind us right from the start as well. They saw that there was a need for it in the marketplace. But yeah, it's about really all what you said, whether it's in grocery stores or on-premise accounts, restaurants and bars, it's all of it. We want it served everywhere, and we're continuing to grow that and get placement in all the different places where we don't have it currently.
Yeah. Well, and it's the story too. I mean, I'm going to read this off the box because it's really cool, and it's on your website. We are the early risers. To do things right, we put in the time, we put in the work, we put in a pause to reflect, to share the moment, and to celebrate the journey. No shortcuts, no excuses. Obviously, this is the epitome of you and your career, but it is about that message, and I feel that connects definitely with the next generation.
Yeah, it's really been my mantra throughout my entire life. I think that's what I'm most proud of with AID. I think it's a reflection of who I am and where I've been and what my beliefs are. And I've got daughters who I talk to them obviously regularly about the things that I think are important in life to achieve the things that matter most to a person. And for me, I've just always admired the people who are willing to do the work. I think that throughout my athletic career, especially, but we all see it. You see it. Everyone sees it. That there's a lot of really gifted, talented people that pass through our lives that have opportunities that maybe others don't have, but they just simply weren't willing to put in the work, and they didn't then get to where they wanted to go. And they've got all the excuses in the world as to why it didn't work out. And so for me, understanding how I've gotten to where I've gotten, but then also knowing why the teams that I was a part of, why those teams were able to do what they were able to do, it's not hard to figure out. It's about really talented people who are willing to put in the time and put in the work and make it happen. And so this beer truly is a lifestyle brand beer. It's for those people that are active, that are concerned about their health and wellness, but we take it a step further in that it's for the people who do the work, but also want to have balance in their life. Like I said, that, there are those moments in life that I think you've got to be able to celebrate, and nothing brings people together better, I don't think, than beer. And so for those people that want to be able to do that, they can do it and feel good about it. But this is really an honor. This beer is really an honor of the people who put in whatever their work is and whatever their field is. And we say the early risers, it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to wake up at 5 a.m. or whatever it is. It just means that when they do get up, they've got a purpose and a passion to just go to be better than they were the day before. And whatever that is, I mean, whatever that looks like to them, then that's up to them. But people who are motivated and inspired to be great, that excites me. And this beer, quite honestly, was made for those people.
But Troy, I mean, isn't that Texas?
I think it is, and a lot. Yeah, I think it is.
That can-do attitude.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I am unapologetically Texan. And even though I'm not a native, I love the state of Texas. When people say, what do you love about it? There's a lot of things to love. But what I generally say first and foremost, I said, this state is a place where people they're proud. And, they're proud of their state. They're proud to be in Texas. And you can feel that when you're there. And I agree. I think that's what's made Texas what it is that it's made up of a lot of people who are really proud to be Texan, and they have this can-do attitude and spirit about them.
Well, we talk to companies that are moving here all the time, and we just talked to a CEO last week of a huge company who relocated a bunch of people here. And the first thing he said to me was, Ed, I can't believe the willingness for the business community to just give me a call, reach out and say, hey, what can we do to help? Some of them are even competitors. It's just how things are done here. And I'm sure you saw that throughout your whole career, whether you were playing at away games or, playing here. Same thing in the business community, right?
Yeah, no, the people are fantastic. I mean, they really are. I like I say, I mean, I was born in California. I was born in Southern California. My family moved to Oklahoma when I was in 8th grade. I was 12 years old. And then, of course, came to Dallas when I was 22, and I've been in Dallas ever since. And I wish I could say I was a native Texan. I do wish when people say, where are you from? I wish I could say I'm a Texan. I do say I'm from Texas now. But I am thrilled that my girls are they're natives now, and the whole state is wonderful, and the people are as friendly as they can be, and there's just a lot to really like. And I lucked into it, quite honestly, because if someone else had the #1 pick and taken me, who knows? It almost was Green Bay. I might be living in Wisconsin right now. I'm not sure. And Wisconsin's great, but the winters are a little colder there than they are in Texas.
Yeah. I remember the first time I came to Texas, and it surprised me. And I remember when I went back home, I just told my family, I said, I'm moving to Texas. And I did. I didn't have plans on staying here, and I ended up staying here, 30 years later. Yeah. What was your first experience? It may have been the Cotton Bowl with Texas, and it was a good experience, but what was it like for you when you first got here? I mean, what clicked with you?
Well, you're right. My first experience with Texas was, I think it was the first time. Well, I take that back. I went to when I was in high school. I went to Six Flags. Drove down from Henrietta. It's about a 3-hour drive from where I'm from in Oklahoma. Yeah. But my first real experience was when I played for OU and played in the OU Texas game at the Cotton Bowl, and then when I went to UCLA. I came back. My last game at UCLA was in the Cotton Bowl, and that's when there was a lot of speculation about me being the #1 pick. But what I remember very vividly when I first got drafted and came to Dallas was having been in LA for 3 years there at UCLA, right in the heart of Westwood and a lot of tall buildings, and you're not able to see a lot of open space. That I was in Fort Worth for something, and I was driving to Irving. So I had a 45-minute drive or whatever it was. And I just could not get over how much open land there was at the time. Now, a lot of that's even been built up over the last 30 years. But I just remember feeling a sense of peace and calm because there was all this land. And it reminded me so much of my time in Oklahoma that it just felt very comfortable for me, and right away it was home. And really I always ask myself, where would I want to live? Is it Dallas? Is it somewhere else? And as I continue to get older, I just don't want to look back and think, why didn't I try this when I was young enough to really enjoy it? And I've given some thought, but at the end of the day, I've been in Dallas over 30 years. I've made a lot of great relationships and friendships, and at the end of the day, that's really where home is where your friends and family are. So for me to pick up and go somewhere else, that'd be pretty challenging for me.
So Roger Staubach was a big influence on you in many ways, not only your professional career, your entrepreneurial career, but just you as a person. Yeah. Talk a little bit about him.
Yeah. Roger, I watched him when I was growing up, when I was still in junior high and high school. Always thought a lot of him as a player. And then the day that I came to Dallas to sign my contract, I'll never forget it. I was in Jerry Jones's office, and he had his TV on, and I was, to sign an NFL contract. I mean, you can't imagine how many papers you're just putting your signature on. And they had the TV on, and all of a sudden they'd gotten a hold of Roger, and they were asking him about me and being picked by the Cowboys, and he said amazing things about me. And I just remember thinking, man, it was really nice, the things that he said. And I knew that because of his legacy with the Cowboys, that, he was a guy who can make life really difficult if he wasn't the way that he is. And he's always just been so supportive of me over the years. We became friends because of the connection with the Cowboys, of course. But then over time, we became business partners. We had the racing team together. I've invested in some things with Roger. I've done a lot of stuff with him. We've done a lot of charity events together, and he is as fine a person as there is on the planet. And whatever people think of Roger Staubach, that's who he is. I can't imagine anyone thinking of Roger in any other way than how he is, and he's even better than that. So, yeah, he's been a role model for me in more ways than he knows. He'll always be the bar for quarterback in Dallas, and he'll always be the greatest quarterback and arguably the greatest player that the Cowboys have ever had. But in addition to that, what I admired about him was what he was able to do post-career, and for him to build his real estate company and have the success that he was able to there. That's really, in a lot of ways, has been the inspiration for me to try to do something outside of football. And the broadcasting's been an awesome second career for me. But in a lot of ways, some of the things that I've gotten involved in, whether it was the car business or now the beer business, Rogers had an influence on that because of what he's been able to do post-career and how that's inspired me.
Well, and you give 1% of your revenues to social causes. I would have to think some of that has to do with the influence he had on you.
Yeah,
with giving back.
Yeah, for sure. He's as generous as anyone I know. And when we began we just thought, there's just a lot of unfortunate people out there that are struggling with a lot. And we just felt that even though we're young and we're scratching and clawing for everything we can get as well, that it'd be nice if we can give back to the people in the state of Texas that embody the things that we feel they represent. So those organizations that encourage health and wellness and trying to get people back on their feet and working and all of that, those are programs that we support.
Yeah, and I know childhood cancer is pretty important to you.
Yeah, that was a charity that Roger and I have co-chaired together for quite some time, 20 plus years. Roger had started with it, and then he asked me to come on and co-chair with him. It's a children's cancer fund that's through the Children's Hospital in Dallas, and then Roger stepped down a year ago, and then I reached out, much like Roger did to me. I reached out to Dak, and I told him, I said, 25 years ago, I got a call from Roger Staubach, and he asked me to be his co-chairman, and I'm making this, and I said yes. Immediately. I said, so I'm making the same call to you. I kind of backed him into a corner a little bit before I made the ask, but Dak's been amazing. So Dak now co-chairs it with me. And Ed, I keep thinking that one of these years it's going to be the last year that we have these galas and these fundraisers, and that we're going to find a cure. It is heartbreaking to see these kids. In sports, we talk about toughness and heroic and all these terms until you get a chance to see these kids and even the families, the parents of these children, these pediatric cancer patients. They really they're the real heroes, and they're the ones that are really exemplifying toughness each and every day.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at what some of the other players have done, like Woodson and Emmett and you, of course, it's just getting very involved in the community and showing that there's a lot more after a career, and there's a lot you can do. There's a lot of influence you have on people because of your fame, and using that for the good of society, really is, it's almost an obligation.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think that as I think everyone who plays professional sports, it was like it was for me. I'm sure it was a dream for them. And so, we've been blessed with an opportunity to live out our dreams. And I think that there does become a bit of a responsibility. And I think most, I say this all the time as far as how it relates with the NFL, most players give back tremendously. Tuesdays are players' days off, and you'll see these athletes that are in the community giving of their time and oftentimes money as well, and really helping out. So I know that in Dallas, I'm sure it's true across the state. I'm amazed at the number of charity events and the support that the city provides. And oftentimes it's the same people you see at each and every one of these events, and very philanthropic. And my foundation has been the beneficiary of that generosity by a lot of people in our community. But I also have given back on the other side of it, like you said, with these other players, and it continues. I think the Cowboys do a great job of encouraging that as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the business climate in Texas, because the companies that I talk to that are moving here, they're surprised about a lot of things. And one thing that surprised one of these companies, actually talked to the former CEO of Toyota when they moved 4,000 people here from California. And he said the philanthropic community in Texas is not what I expected it to be. And we're actually stepping up our game because of that. So they donated money to the Plano Independent School District. What are you seeing? What are the benefits of doing business in Texas, aside from, a lot of the things that we hear about? In your opinion, you've done a lot of business here.
Yeah, no, I think Texas is what I've seen is it's pro business is first and foremost. I think the state encourages that. I think it's you're not met with a lot of regulation and things that prohibit business as you are in some other states. So I think that's why we've seen such an influx of so many businesses that have moved to Texas. There obviously has to be oversight in a lot of things, but I think for some states, they make it almost impossible for a lot of these businesses to really do a lot of good and make great products and do it at a competitive price and all of those things. Whereas in Texas, I think they understand that. I think that's quite honestly, it's been one of the hallmarks. We talked about all the great things of Texas. I think being pro-business is one of the hallmarks of our state. And people from other states have realized that, and that's why we've gotten some of the companies to come the way that we have, and it continues to grow. We've seen during times of recession and difficult economic conditions around the country, we've seen firsthand that whereas Texas continues to thrive, oftentimes, same economic environment. So it's really a credit to the leaders that we have.
Well, and to continue this, workforce development is going to be a big piece, right? Getting people to fill these positions that we need. I know every industry has challenges. Of course, you have restaurants, and you're in the beer business. What advice would you have for a student looking for a career pathway? Of course, you got your dream, which was, to play professional football. What's some advice you'd give a student?
Well, I think that, I will say that I'm asked a lot as to how I'll have young people come to me and say, how can I get into broadcasting? Or what would your advice be to me about broadcasting? I said, well, I only know the way I did it. And the way I did it was I won 3 Super Bowls. So I think, if you can do that, then I think you get into broadcasting. So I always then say, I think Joe's the one you really want to talk to, because his job's obviously different from mine. But I think that, for instance, my daughters are 20 and 21. And I think it's the advice that I give to them and give to others is you just don't know. This is true in athletics. It's just true in life. You never know when an opportunity is going to be presented. and you don't know who you might meet or how you might interact with that person, or the job that you're doing at an internship like my girls are right now, and somebody pays attention to that and they notice it, and then down the road you cross paths again. So the advice is, and it does seem that a lot of young people today don't really want to have to work for anyone. You know, they want to start something, they want to be their own boss, and I get all that. But there also needs to be a time where you learn the business. And those are hard things to do. Some people are able to do it, but oftentimes it means that you're going to work for someone and learn the craft and what you have to know. But it kind of goes, you know, I don't want to bring it back to the beer, but it really is about what our beer represents. It's about doing the work and doing it to the best of your ability, not looking for shortcuts, not making excuses. That's the advice that I would give to all young people. It's what I give to young athletes, that everyone's looking for an easy way out. Everyone's trying to find a way that they don't have to put in the work. And to me, if you're going to achieve greatness, whatever greatness means to you, you've got to be relentless. You got to be disciplined, and you've got to put in the time. And if you do that and you make good decisions, then more times than not, I think you're going to be as successful as you want to be.
Well, and you're right. Things don't happen by accident. I mean, even the things that you would accomplish, there were hurdles along the way. And I think relationship building, I know Scott Murray told me he had a very good conversation with you, interview with you about some of the relationships you had with your coaches throughout the years. And, you know, whether you're a first round draft pick or you're the best player on the team, sometimes you've got to build that relationship with the coach or the decision maker to get to that next level.
Right.
And talk a little bit about that, because I think, you know, personally, I think that's where maybe this next generation is missing out on what we had to do when we were kids. We were out in the public a little bit more. We were not on social media as much. What kind of role did that play in your success?
Yeah, I think, well, I will say that from the time I was young, I was fortunate that I had really great coaches. I always had quality coaches, people who could make me better than I was. And so you know, if you're, like I said, the hard thing for a lot of young people today is to understand that there are steps involved to get where you want to go. And so for me, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. And when you're in high school and you're coming in as a freshman, yeah, your goal is to be a professional athlete, but there's steps that are involved. And so, you know, first I had to win the starting job, and I had to get through, and I had to play well enough in high school in order to get a scholarship to go to college, and then, you know, kind of go through that. So it's just understanding kind of the mechanics of what all's involved. And I feel that, you know, I've seen some people in business whose parents, fathers, maybe grown this big business, and they come along, and I see a lot of them who then just jump right into a leadership position within that company, and oftentimes it doesn't fare so well. And then I've seen others who have come in and they've started at the bottom, and they've learned their way, and they've learned the business, and they've learned all the different areas of the business, and have served in those. And then they earn the respect of the people around them, and then they're more prepared to be able to take over and do the things that ultimately they want to do. And so I just think there's steps involved in everything that you do, and you've got to just be willing to be relentless about it and learn what you have to learn.
Well, it's putting in the time. It's interesting. Do you know Chris Gronkowski?
Yeah, I know of him. Yeah.
Okay. So he lives in Dallas, and I interviewed him. He got on Shark Tank and ended up getting all of the sharks to give him money. And my question to him was, you know, what's it like, you know, when you walk out on Shark Tank, you know, you got the music, you know, you're standing up and you got to give your pitch to all these guys. I said, you know, what was that like? And he said, Ed, it was real easy. And I said, how? He said, do you know how much preparation we need to do in the NFL for a game?
Yeah.
He goes, I rehearsed my speech 1,000 times before I got out there.
Yeah.
He said, and that's the difference, is putting in the time, putting in your 10,000 hours, whatever that is really what separates you.
Yeah. Well, good for Chris, because I do think that what he said about athletics or in the NFL, in order to achieve that, is true. I mean, there's very few. You see a lot of gifted athletes when you're young, and there's a big separation between the top player and the rest of the group. And then as you move along, when you move through high school, that gets a little bit smaller. When you get to college, it gets smaller. And then you get to the NFL, it's you don't see people, and that's why when you do see a Barry Sanders running around the field making people look foolish, I mean, that's a really talented guy at that level against some of the best competition in the world. But you've got to put in a ton of work in order to be successful at that level. And so for a lot of players, then when you get out, the work's different. For instance, with me in eighth, I'm working extremely hard on the brand and building this company, but it's a different kind of work than what it was obviously when I was preparing as a football player. And I think that that's kind of the takeaway for a lot of these players, is just know that you've got to work just as hard at business as you do physically to be a great player. And so for Chris to be able to take the things that he learned as an athlete and this mindset of putting in the time and then take that to Shark Tank and this business that he's running, that's it's not even the secret sauce. I mean, that's the key. That's how you go on and do the things that you hope to do.
Well, and I think that's really the advice to this next generation, is the work that's put in behind the scenes. I think a lot of it is immediate gratification and maybe not understanding what it takes to get there. I was telling my son about the interview this morning, and he knows you as a sportscaster, and he said he's 11 years old. Anyway, I said to him, look, here's what you have to understand. I said, Troy Aikman came up. He was the first round draft pick in his first year with the Dallas Cowboys. I said, guess what their record was? And he's like, I don't know, 8-8. I'm like, no, 1-15, and he lost his first 11 games.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt. Second season, 7-9. Third season, 11-5. And then, of course, the Super Bowl, and then, 3 Super Bowls. But it ain't easy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good point. I think that there's a lot of people that we all look to. Whoever's listening to this, there's people that they would look up to and say, wow, this person has really made it, or how successful this person is. And I think there's a tendency to think that came easy. And it doesn't. It doesn't matter. And there's a lot of people who I know, who I don't know, that have been tremendously successful. And I would be willing to say that for all of them, they went through a lot of heartache, and they went through a lot of failures, and they went through a lot of setbacks. And it's just, how resilient can you be, and can you keep moving forward? And so sometimes we see someone's success and we think, man, they didn't have to do this, or they had it given to them, or they had it easy, or whatever it is. I venture to say that's not the case. That if you really sit down and learn what their stories about, how they got to where they are, they had to overcome a lot. So that's really, to me, for young people, the takeaway, that just know there's going to be a lot of doors that are closed in your face. There's going to be a lot of failures. There's going to be a lot of setbacks, but you learn from all those things. And for me, in my athletic career, I had a lot of setbacks and a lot of disappointments, and you just keep going, and you feel that if you do that, eventually the dam's going to break and things are going to go the way you hope that they will.
So you had a storied career. You won the Cotton Bowl, 3 Super Bowls, Hall of Fame, a lot of business success. When you and I are long gone and someone walks up to your statue at the Hall of Fame, what do you want to be remembered as? What do you want to be your legacy?
A great dad, I mean, it sounds probably a little corny to some, for parents. I'm sure it doesn't, but uh, I always wanted to be a father. The athletic stuff has always been important to me. It's, as I said, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. I've always wanted to be successful, by my own definition of it. But when my life comes to an end, if my daughters say, my dad was a great dad, then my life's complete. I was asked on the Ed Milet show when I did his show a few weeks ago about where I stack in the rankings of all-time quarterbacks, and it's not important to me. I mean, it's nice if somebody puts me somewhere where I say, oh, that was pretty generous, or they think much of me, whatever it is. I mean, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. And even now, I mean, my athletic career, I'm really proud of it. But I mean, I haven't taken a snap in 23 years. So that was another time in my life. I'm proud of it, loved it. We had a lot of success, made a lot of amazing relationships. Those people are still friends of mine to this day. Love getting together with them. But I'm on to other things, but if being a great dad is all I'm ever known for, and only known for it by my girls, then I've had a great life. And that's about as honest as I can be.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
All of this is,
I hope my friends say he was a great friend too. I mean, because our stories are really told by the people who know us. Our legacies will be really, at least as from my perspective, it's told by the ones that loved us, and so the other stuff is fun while you're doing it. I wouldn't not pursue those things. I mean, there's still I still have goals, but not at the expense of what I feel really matters, and that's the relationships with my daughters and my friends and family.
no, Troy, this was great. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out. We're pretty excited about having your team out on October 6th at AT&T Stadium. We're hosting a summit on the field of the stadium. We're
Awesome.
going to be showcasing a lot of the new innovation, new companies that are coming to Texas. And Sophia and your team are going to be out there. And we're actually having a pre-event reception at Troy's. So your restaurant right next door to Live by Lowe's.
Yeah, good. I don't know what day of the week that is. I think I've got it on my calendar.
Well, so it's interesting. I was talking to Sophia about it. It's October 6th, and she said that you do have something with your daughters that weekend.
Oh, you know what? It's parents' weekend. My oldest daughter, she's a senior this year at Washington and Lee in Virginia. And so it's parents' weekend.
So our reception is at your restaurant on Thursday.
Okay.
That's going to be what, the 5th.
Okay.
Are you heading out of town on Thursday?
I think I leave on Thursday. But if I don't, I'll pop by.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. Good to have you out there. And look, we want to help you get the word out about your beer in Texas. That's why YTexas exists, to help companies stay and expand, and whatever we can do to help. I mean, you had answered the question before. It's anything and everything. Restaurants. I'm pretty close to the guys at Topgolf. Do you have your beer at Topgolf?
We should be, because we did a lot of events at Topgolf.
Okay.
Yeah, we should be there. I've got a buddy who invested in Topgolf years ago, before it really kind of took off. But I think I'm almost positive we're in. We should be in all of them, but because we did a lot of our launch parties were at Topgolf. Yeah.
No, they're a great company. They've been growing like crazy. If your buddy invested in them, man, he's doing okay.
Yeah, it's something else what they've done.
Well, and they merged with Callaway.
Callaway, yeah.
And now the whole PGA thing coming to Texas. I mean, that's huge. The golf industry Texas is going to be the center of all of it. It's not going to be Florida, It's gonna be
Yeah,
here.
no, you're right. You're right.
They're
Yeah, I haven't
hosting two.
been out to the facility yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it, the new PGA headquarters.
It's insane. You know, one of the biggest parts of it is the youth training facility,
Is that right?
world-class youth training. They want,
Smart.
they want to groom more Jordan Spieths
Yeah.
and Scotty Schefflers here.
Yeah, no, it's smart. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to get the kids, it's kind of what's affecting football a little bit, as far as a lot of kids not playing football, because of the risk of injury by the parents aren't letting them play. But yeah, get these kids young, get them exposed to the game, give them opportunities to play.
You know, when I was doing some research on you, Scott Murray told me that you wanted to play baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I was when I was in California, baseball was my first love, and a number of my buddies that I grew up with, they went on to play college baseball, and some of them went on to play in the big leagues. And then when I moved to Oklahoma, it just football was king, and it just, the emphasis on baseball, the attention to the programs wasn't the same, and at least where I was. I mean, it is in some parts of the state, but yeah, so then it just slowly kind of I wasn't developing at the same rate in baseball compared to football. But I always thought I'd kind of play, I thought I'd play baseball in college, and it just didn't work out because I was never able to not play or go through spring ball, because I never had the job won until going into my last year at UCLA. And by that time I hadn't played in baseball in almost 5 years. So it just never presented itself. But I always thought that I'd play in college as well.
You know what's crazy about sports now? When we were kids, we'd play 3 sports, or maybe even 4 if you could fit them in. And now it seems like the kids have to focus on one sport.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Because if I had been told that I had to play one sport, I wouldn't have played football. My freshman year, I would have just played basketball and baseball. Or, if you could play 2 sports, and if you had to play one, then I'd have picked baseball. And yeah, I think it's all, I don't think the decision by these coaches or these schools making these kids pick one sport, I don't think it's in the best interest of the kid. I think it's for really the coach, or I'm not for it at all. I think it's terrible for these high school kids to be told they have to choose one sport and then play it year round. I just don't think it's good. I think I saw it from a parent's perspective with my girls playing club sports. If I was young and they had club sports, I probably would have been playing, because I was totally obsessed with sports. But I think there's a lot of club sports that are being played that are played at such a demanding level that kids burn out before they even get to high school. They just burn out from the sport. They're playing 80 games in a summer, maybe more than that in baseball. They're traveling all over the country I used to always ask, is there no lacrosse in Texas? I mean, why do we always have to travel? Why are we always having to leave the state to go play a lacrosse game, or a tournament? To me, it's a big money racket, and everyone's benefiting except the kids.
No, it's so true. I mean, my son plays baseball. He loves basketball. He loves football. But if he wants to stay competitive at baseball, he's got to play fall ball.
Yeah.
He's got to.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to play basketball, and of course, we're going to let him do what he wants to do, but he also realizes he needs to stay competitive. And it's one sport. I mean,
yeah.
Well, good. I can't thank you enough, Troy. This is fantastic. And
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you. And hopefully I'll see you in October.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care.